All right, Introduction to Computers. We're the last section on Unit 1. We're going to talk about hardware. Okay, so hardware. Who makes hardware? Dell. They put hardware together and get equipment. Samsung. There's all kinds of companies. And we emphasized the last time how important software is. The operating system communicates with hardware, and then we have applications that communicate with the operating system to do what we want to do as people using technology. And then networking allows us to hook it all together. We already talked about data, raw facts, create organized facts and information. We also talked about local area networks in the same area, wide area networks. Some examples: things can be sent across wire, can be sent through the air. We talked about different ways through the air, and then they can be sent through tubes, very small fiber optic tubes, and we can send light through those. The internet. We talked about what we use networks for. The internet allows us to connect networks. Connecting networks. And this we're going to talk about in class a little bit more. What actually is used in the computer: bits, 8 bits gives us a byte of information. Information is stored in data files. For this, I really should have listed this as software programs, and those programs are also files. So we have files we store somewhere, for example, like on a hard drive, flash drive, DVD. If we were to look at, we're going to talk more specifically about this, but in there we have that processor, we have some software on the hard drive, we bring it in here into memory, and from memory we can process those instructions and do something with data. How we organize that: folders, directories, we have the hierarchical subfolders, some logical organization, path to the files. A lot of review. We talked about managing files and backing up what's important, and we talked about software in the previous session. Operating system deals with hardware. Utilities allow us to manipulate some things that would be dealing with hardware, like creating folders, directories, and so forth. And application software communicates with the operating system, which communicates with the hardware. And we went through actually quite a bit of an explanation of software. It could be on your device, on some server, or you could get it off the web. And here are some examples. And so this is up to hardware. The actual equipment. All computing devices, or a lot of computing devices, have some type of input. You know, we have some way for the information, the data, to come into the device. For example, there is nowadays, we have tablets and we do things right on the screen, or right on the screen, a touch screen for your phone. I mean, we have keyboards in which we enter information. We have pointing devices, like you have a mouse, or in the case of what I'm doing here, I have a stylus and I'm just writing right on the screen to create what we have here. I'm inputting things in, and the software that's running behind this is functioning to where it's grabbing this information along with my voice and recording it, all digitally. So we have all kinds of ways including audio, to get data into our device. Okay? I mean, even stuff you wouldn't think about, like going down the road, your car can be gathering data from a GPS or whatever. Output, we have some type of display, we have audio, we have speakers, we have sound, and we can send stuff out and get it printed on paper. So we have ways to get the information out. A system unit. Probably thinking more of a PC. I'm going to draw a box here to represent that. We have a motherboard or a main primary board. On there we have memory, random access memory. A lot of them are made by Intel. We have a processor, or the central processing unit. We have an electronic bus, so these can talk to each other. So we have software and memory. The instructions go up to the processor processes the instructions and sends something back to memory. Cache is high speed memory. Cache, the word is used in a lot of different ways. And here, when we're talking about memory, cache can be tied right to the processor, but it's high-speed memory that allows us to keep the items we use most often, the instructions most often, in cache memory. Read-only memory, there's some information burnt right in the chips. There's somewheres on the motherboard, those chips. And when you first boot the computer, it gets some software out of those and functions that way. Read-only memory. You don't change it, it's burnt right in. Expansion slots. Inside a computer, there can be places where you can add cards, like you can add a graphics card, a video card to make the video run faster and so forth. In the old days, we used to add a card for a modem or a network card. Most of the time you see this dealing with adding a video card. Here now we're talking about ports in terms of peripheral devices, other things we connect in, like you might connect a printer. You might connect the printer in through a USB port. In fact, this has become extremely popular, universal serial bus. Some keyboards are connected that way. Some are connected wirelessly, but some are still connected through that type of port. You can use a USB port. All kinds of things. You can connect a little light to your laptop so you can work on it in a bus or somewhere through a USB port. You can actually connect an extra hard drive, an external hard drive through a USB port, and it just connects into the system inside. So a lot of different uses for the USB. Firewire, probably won't see that much anymore. It's still used. I've still used it in recent years. It's I believe it was an Apple technology that allows us to move video, let's say from a camera, into the computer quickly. Different type of port, different type of connection protocol to make that work. Usually a port to connect network, physical, or in a laptop it'd be an antenna. You might not see the antenna, but there's some way to connect network interface card to allow you to connect to the network. And nowadays it would be a plug in which you connected a wire, or it can be an antenna to send a signal through the air. The electronic bus. Inside here in the circuitry, and there's more than one, but I'm just going to draw one. This electronic bus allows everything to communicate. It's the road in there. that everything communicates. So we talk about the relationship between the processor and memory and the slots and the ports. They all connect via the electronic bus. All right. The last thing I'm going to mention here then, storage. You can have local storage, so you can have a hard drive, maybe a flash drive, maybe a DVD, hard disk, flash, and somehow all of these, they would connect to the bus. So you can store, and we're going to learn more about those later on, you can store information locally. So you have it with you locally, okay, in the device. Now, a lot of devices like your smartphone stores a lot of things right in flash memory right in the device. Tablets, same thing. They'll store lots of information right in the flash, right in the device. They don't have another place and so forth for it. They store it right there. Those can both be limited. They can be limited. So after a time, you might have to move your pictures from your device somewheres off to some other storage device somewhere. So one option, like in the colleges, we have network storage. And we're going to show a picture of that, but you can have network storage. At the campus, they have a big storage area, and you can send your files from wherever you are and put them on a place in the storage, and it keeps track of your files. So you can have network storage at the location you're at. You can have removable storage, and that would be, I guess, similar to the local storage in the device, where maybe you take a DVD out, or you take a flash drive and connect it, or I have at home, I've got a portable hard drive, and I just plug that into the USB port, and I can copy information from my local hard drive to my portable drive and then put that away. You can actually lock that in a fireproof safe. Or you can back things up on a DVD and lock that in your fireproof safe. Or we can use some cloud storage. We can go through a network, probably the internet, and store information on a storage device out in the cloud, supplied by some service. Try to put this all together. You have a computing device that has a processor and some RAM. More the better. RAM we're going to refer to as memory. And then we have the processor. Okay? Alright. You could have a local hard drive connected in through the electronic bus. And you could store data files and program files there. Okay, so you have all that hardware. You could have a optical drive, a DVD connected to the bus, and your ports, in which maybe you connect either a flash drive or maybe an external hard drive to that, all that hardware. Now, you can be connected, let's say, for example, at NIACC, you'd be connected to the IT network, and you could save it on a server there. Or at NIACC, if you're somewhere else on campus, they also have storage. I think they call it the H drive, and you could store it there. NIACC's connected to the internet, And the internet allows us to connect to other networks. So, here's another example. I use something known as Dropbox as another place we can send there. And they have hard disk storage space in which they can keep your items there, separate from the West, or the rest of the world. Or you can store it at Google or iCloud. But all of those networks that connect to the internet, they're all storing it on some type of storage devices at their locations. Alright? So they all have hardware. And we use hardware inside the network. There's routers and switches and firewalls and so forth in order to move it through. And of course, software allows it all to happen. And we'll dig in more deeply on some of these items later on. And so that's it for right now.